existing thermal operations. Furthermore, much of the pipeline route follows existing pipelines. Yet none of this seems to be given any consideration within the permitting process. It will be October before we can complete the survey, which could very well keep this project from being developed for over a year. Finally, I want to bring to the committee's attention an example of some impediments we also face on the state level. In our case, it concerns permitting delays for another steam drive project. In July 2010, we submitted an application to the California Division of Oil and Gas to reactivate a previous steam drive. 10 months later, we have yet to receive authorization for this multi-million-dollar project, even though steam floods are currently underway in sections directly adjacent to ours. No explanation has been offered by the Division of Oil and Gas for this delay. In summary, it is without argument that the San Joaquin Valley, despite its age and regulatory challenges, holds significant additional oil and gas reserves that companies like E&B, using the latest technology, can exploit. If we can access these reserves in a timely and reasonable fashion, I have no doubt that all of the companies operating here in the valley can add significantly to our nation's domestic oil and gas production, and will hire, train, and provide continued employment to thousands of new workers. This will without doubt improve economic growth throughout this region, and more importantly, will aid in the quest to provide our nation with a secure energy future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hull.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. My name is Tupper Hull. I am representing the Western States Petroleum Association today, and we're very pleased to have the opportunity to address you. WSPA represents major petroleum, integrated petroleum companies that operate in California and other Western states that we represent them in, as well as some of the large independent producers that Rock mentioned, and independent refiners as well. We do think it's very important that this hearing is being held in Kern County. As others have mentioned, Kern County is responsible for producing about 72% of the oil that's produced in California today. And California, as you know, is the third largest oil producing state in the United States. And
I apologize for interrupting you, but I talked to the gentleman from Alaska, and he said as Alaska declines, he'd prefer that we mention we're number 2 now.
You anticipated. For a period of a couple of months earlier this year, we were number 2. Now we've slipped back to number 3, so I had to correct my testimony, but we're giving them a run for their money. As others have mentioned, you know, the technology has played such an important role in California, and not just prolonging the life of the oil production, but in the livelihoods of the tens of thousands of men and women that work in this industry. Men and women who earn really good salaries and bring a tremendous amount of expertise and diversity to this region, as well as other oil producing regions in California. You have asked us to talk about pathways to energy independence with a focus on hydrofracking, and I'm going to let others here with a great deal more expertise in hydrofracking address that specific issue. But we don't think any discussion about energy independence, or we would probably say energy security, is complete without mentioning the 10.5 billion barrels of oil that the United States Geological Survey estimates is offshore of California in undiscovered but technically recoverable reserves off the coast. To give you some sense as to what 10.5 billion barrels would mean to California's energy security, if all of it could be produced, it would and could replace all of the oil we currently import from foreign sources for 36 years. If you just look at our largest foreign source of oil, which is Saudi Arabia, that 10.5 billion barrels, could replace all Saudi imports for 155 years. It is a tremendous resource and one that we believe deserves consideration. Now, we're very aware of the tragic events that took place in the Gulf of Mexico last year. We spent a lot of time explaining to the media and others our view on that and why the production that takes place in California occurs under conditions that are entirely different, very different, than what is taking place in the Gulf of Mexico in their deep water exploration. The reserves on the outer continental shelf and the Pacific are in much shallower water. The pressures typically are much less than was found in the Deepwater Horizon accident. And the safety equipment that is employed and the technology that's used is much more accessible on the production facilities in California. For the last 40-plus years, 1 billion barrels of oil have been produced off the California coast, and during that time, according to, and I apologize, I can't remember Boehmer's full name, it's the former MMS, estimated or has said that a total of 850 barrels of oil have been accidentally released into the Pacific during that 40-plus years. Now, make no mistake, that's 850 barrels too many. Our members get up every morning with a goal to ensure that not a drop of oil spills in any form during their operations. But over a 40-year period, we believe that's not just a commendable safety record, but it reflects the kind of commitment and technologies that have been developed to protect the environment while providing important energy resources to the nation. The issue of energy security is particularly acute in California because, as we say, California is an energy island. We are not connected to other refining and producing areas of the country by pipelines. Consequently, when there are upsets in supply or international events like we're experiencing now that impact oil supplies, it's very difficult to shift and move supplies around to balance the markets. And so Californians pay a price in volatility and upward pressure on prices because of this isolation. And so for that reason, we believe oil produced in California is the most secure source of oil for us. It is the lowest cost source of oil. And we believe this conversation you're having today is the most important conversation from an energy perspective that we can have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimonies. As I said, this is a less formal environment, so I don't think we're going to do 5 minutes. I think we're going to go around multiple rounds, and I'm going a little bit in reverse order. Mr. Hall, when you said 850 barrels into 1 billion barrels, any guess, just with the ships that come into the United States, how much was spilled in the same time offloading per billion barrels of imported oil?
I wouldn't venture to guess. It's not really a number I'd be, my members would be happy to have me carrying around and talking about. But, yeah. I mean, obviously what I think...
Would it surprise you to know that just the stuff coming out of bilges
right.
That we regulate far exceeds that?
I don't think there's any question that the risks associated with tankerage and the volumes of oil that are coming into California every day to serve this market far outweigh the risks of producing here in the state of California and in the federal waters off shore.
Mr. Layton, I'm going to ask you a question and pretend that I'm representing the other side of the equation for a moment because I think it'll be helpful. Isn't it true you're in an incredibly profitable industry, one in which the American people pay far more for their fuel than one would ordinarily figure it takes to extract and deliver it?
This industry, without question, is experiencing a very profitable period. I mean, you can look at the earnings releases of the public companies. I guess it depends on how you view it.
Well, let me give you the follow-up for a second. Whenever you have a really profitable industry, one in which foreign competition is not really competition because we need them, therefore we must buy from them. It's not a question of do we buy from you or do we buy from Qatar or any other place, whether it's oil or natural gas. The fact is we have to import more than half of all we consume in oil and beginning to become a net importer in natural gas if we don't reverse the trend. In a sense, don't we have a world market such as Saudi Arabia, where their lift cost is about $8. That gets it to the port for $8 a barrel. We're delivering them the difference between $8 a barrel and $140 a barrel. Well, your margins, your lift costs are dramatically higher. What would you expect, for example, the lift cost of a typical Bakersfield delivery of a barrel of oil to be all in?
In the steam-derived projects that I mentioned in my testimony, we will, on a typical operation, will spend $40 to $50 a barrel to extract the oil,
right,
including the cost of steam.
And if you looked at the regulatory costs, or if you will, the delays, the excess that you spoke about in your testimony, how much of that is, in fact, an additional tax on this lift cost you have?
It is easily another 10 to 20% on top of a regular lifting cost. And it certainly depends on the area. It does vary, but it is significant. The delay and the uncertainty, although difficult to quantify in terms of a dollar per barrel lifting cost, it is equally as harmful as high lifting cost because it doesn't allow you to plan. And in our business, as I see it, stability equals security. Stability in the sense that we need a stable regulatory and tax environment to operate in, and if we have it, we can provide additional oil production that does ultimately lead to more energy security for this country. Back to your question on the profitability, as I said, it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it as a company that takes those profits and puts them in a shoebox and buries it in the backyard, that's not such a good thing. But if you go to what really is happening, and as what I testified to and as Rock mentioned, those profits are reinvested. That reinvestment leads to more energy security, and if you look at what's happened with the total production from the United States in the last few years, you're going to see a big difference in the production curve. We're on the incline now.
And I'm going to go back to that quickly. You're on the incline with a $40 cost, of which probably 10 or more is produced by excesses in regulatory cost over your competitors, because an $8 competitor is getting $140 a barrel because there's not enough supply. Is that a fair statement? That's what I was trying to get to in that